we need a lot, and then we receive a lot. So thank you very much, and for in my session, so we come to it.
Okay, so all right, so welcome once again to our online seminar. This is the final day, and then today we'll be creating two topics. Yesterday we dealt with building an online portfolio for your business or your personal brand, and also an introduction to Forex. We will be taking that presentation again because we have some internet connection issues. So we might be taking that presentation again at the end of the session, at the end of today's sessions. So today we'll be doing banking, finance, and investments, and then we'll be doing another presentation on business group and business growth and development. So today's session for the banking, finance, and investment will be handled by Brother Francis. So we begin now. So Brother Francis, over to
you. Okay, thank you very, very much, sir.
Let me share your presentation. All right, so
okay, thank you very, very, very much. So online business seminar. We are looking at banking, finance, and investment.
okay, so just let me know when you want me to go to the next.
I tried as much as yes, sir. Okay, so we can go. I think I'll try as much as possible because of the different fields we are all coming from. To just I tried as much as possible to make it brief, concise, and then very easy to understand, and then we'll be able to follow. So we'll be looking at banking, finance, and then these are areas. But I'll try as much as possible to keep it brief, and then we can just pick some notes from there. So we'll go straight to the introduction slide. Okay, and then move to the first one. Mostly when we say banking, when we mention banking, some of the few things that come to mind. A bank is a financial institution licensed to receive deposits, withdrawals, and then processing loans. These are their three main key functions of banks that they normally operate within. And most importantly, they should be licensed. And then two of the most common types of banks are commercial or retail banks, which we mostly call our GCB, UNV, ABSA, EcoBank, and then we have investment banks. So investment banks, examples are like Data Bank, and then First Bank, and then National Investment Bank, NIB. You notice these three banks have been in existence for a very long time. The investment banks I just mentioned, they've been around for a very long time. And then the commercial banks are also the GCB, the UNB. So basically, the bank is a financial institution which is licensed to receive, make deposit withdrawals. Okay, but
let me just. I think I was sharing the wrong screen. So let me.
Okay.
I want to be sure what I'm sharing.
Okay.
Okay, so I think. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
Sorry. Yeah.
So I think we can minimize it a little.
I
Okay.
should minimize.
Oh no, that's okay. It's okay. I think it's rather from. So I got it now. Okay. So we can move to the next slide, please. Okay. So we'll look at just a brief history of banking. So the history of no, I think the slide earlier before this. We'll go back
Um,
again. I think it's the network.
yeah, I think the network is. Is it? Are you okay?
The full details are not on. I think the second slide is interrupting in this one.
Are you using animation?
No, I'm using the phone.
Um, I think maybe it's a network. I guess because what I'm sharing
Yeah.
is different from what you're saying.
Mm. Okay. Let me
It's like,
give you a screenshot. Let me give you a screenshot of what is here.
yeah, I think I know what you are saying. Some texts are overlapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm
Okay. It's
wondering.
better now.
So is the network that the network?
Network. Well. Okay. Let's try it again. Okay.
I
It's
think
perfect. Yeah. Perfect. It's perfect now. Okay. Brief history of banking. As we explained earlier, what a bank is a licensed institution. So the history of banking began with the first prototype. That's just a type of banks, which were the merchants of the world who gave green loans. So this is where it started from. We know way back, way back before this money value uh, system thing came into being. We're trading by barter, meaning if whatever you have, you bring it, and the next person gives you what you want. So that was how it was done, and so it goes to the prototype bank, which were the merchants of the world who gave green loans. So this was mostly done to farmers. So they come for green loans. Those were seeds that they will go and sow, and then traders who carry goods between cities. So this was around 2000 BCE. Started all the way from India, in ancient Greece, and during the Roman Empire. So lenders based in temples gave loans while accepting deposits and performing the change of money. Back way back to Bible days. You remember even when Jesus came, this scenario, this particular thing in the temple where Jesus went and then threw the of the exchanges and then whipped them and took them out of the temple. Father's house shall be called the house of prayer and not for exchanging money. And so this history outdates and then back to those days. So while accepting deposits and performing the change of money, and also archaeology from this period in ancient and India also money lending. So that was how it started. Barter trade, and then it got to this level of giving out loans, which was mostly by the merchants giving. They had grains, they had, and then they have the storehouse. So mostly farmers can for seed to go and sow, and when you harvest, you then bring some profit, which we'll be looking into it. Much we can move to the next slide. Okay, we can move to the next slide. How banking was born. So banking began when empires needed a way to pay for foreign goods and services. So it began when empires needed a way to pay for foreign something that could be exchanged easily. Okay, things they noted maybe I'm an animal, so I take care of maybe cow, goats, and stuff, and I needed corn. So you giving me a bag of maize or corn, they noticed that no, the value was not because even if I have 10, by the time I exchange with 10 people, all my assets are gone. So they were now looking for a way how to measure value, put value into something. And coins were the only measurable things they could use as at then, beside the cowries which started way back. So needed a way to pay for foreign goods and services with something that could be exchanged easily. So coins of varying sizes and metals eventually replaced that fragile, impermanent, and then paper bills. So coins, however, needed to be kept in a safe place. That's when the ancient homes did not have steel safes. So where to keep them? And you in Rome stored their coins and jewels in the basements of temples. Okay, so that part was intertwined. So by the presence of priests, so they developed that trust for priests and mostly kept their money in temples. So they have basements in temples. And you notice even in the Bible days, I always want the Bible is our manual for life. So basically we can get most of the understanding. Okay. So looking at Nebuchadnezzar conquered Israel as at the time, okay, Jerusalem, they went straight to the temple to go and pick treasures from there. And that was where Solomon kept the treasures, always in the house of God, always bring their treasure for safekeeping. So coins, however, needed to be kept in safe place, and ancient homes did not have steel safes. So wealthy people in Rome stored their coins and jewels in the basements of temples. So they were given a sense of security, and then by the presence of priests or temple owners. So who were assumed to be what? To be devout and honest. So money is always entrusted to people who are honest. And you can see the security they mentioned there. That's why in every bank, our modern bank, you always see a security official in front of every bank, a security officer or a police officer in front of every bank, because people always want that security and they always entrust their money to devout people. And you always see armed guards. So this basically is what we see in our modern day. So historical records from Greece, that's Rome, Egypt, and Babylon, suggest that temples loaned money in addition to keeping. Okay, so this was things were done in the temple. That's why the house of God should be the richest place where we can ever find money and find why God has entrusted so much to the church. So temples often function as the financial centers of cities. Is a major reason why they were ransacked during wars. So this or Nebuchadnezzar, when he was going to war against Israel, he focused on the temple and he gets all the treasures and he takes them from, because that is where it was always kept. Okay, thank you very much. We can move to the next slide. So coins could be ordered, means they'll be kept for the time of lack and scarcity and then to be brought out. So more easily than other as £300 pigs. So a class of wealthy merchant coins, their interest. So we'll look at that word interest there. So to people in need of them. So temples handled large loans, including those to various sovereigns, while wealthy merchant money lenders handled the rest. Okay, thank you very much. We can go to the next slide. Okay. So the Romans, okay, banking in the Roman Empire. So now we'll just look at the ages, the phases it went through. So banking in the Roman Empire, who were expert builders. So basically, this is what they did. They were expert builders and administrators, extricated banking from the and formalized it, meaning that they took that same prototype of banking, okay, from the house of God and formalized it. So they look at the way securities are always in front with armed security men in the house of God, the temples as at then. They look at the honesty of the priests who are always there to tell the truth and then always make sure that whatever is kept to them because of the fear of the Lord in them. They don't extort money from the people wrongly. They don't involve themselves in things which are not lawful and then things which won't please God. So they just look at this same way that it was done and then they formalize it within the distinct what buildings. So during this time, money lenders still, so as loan sharks, that's today, but most legitimate commerce and almost all government spending involve the use of an on involve the use of an institutional bank. Okay, institutional bank. So according to World History or encyclopedia, Julius Caesar, these are great names in economics. In one of the edicts changing Roman law after his takeover, initiated the practice of allowing bankers to confiscate. That word, okay, we'll come there. To confiscate land, that's in lieu of loan payments. That's basically like the collateral. So this was a monumental shift of power in the relationship of creditor and debtor. So creditor, you are the one receiving the money. No, the one giving you the money. Then the debtor, you are the one who needs it. And as landed noblemen were untouched through most of history, passing off debts to so either the creditors or debtors lineage died out. So meaning that any money you receive from somebody, you are supposed to pay it back. Even if you don't pay, the next generation continues. It continues from there and then and there and there and then it goes on. That's why you notice that property to be handed over that generation. So please along the line, if you have any question, you can just alert me and then we'll take it up from there. Okay, we come to the great names in banking like JP Morgan, who rescued the banking industry. So JP Morgan and Co. emerged at the head of the merchant banks during the late 18th. It was connected directly to London when the world's financial center and had considerable in the United States. So Morgan and Co. created US still AT&T and International Harvest as well as that Duopolis. Okay, Duopolis. The words intertwine again. So monumental shift of power in the relationship of credit and as okay, I got it now. So still AT&T International Investment and well as Duopolis and then the near monopolies in the railroad and then shipping industry through the revolutionary use of trust and a disdain for the Sherman Antitrust Act. We'll look at all this in depthly. So we can go ahead. These are the great names in finance. The banking industry way back then. So we'll look at the World War II and the rise of modern banking. So mostly, when war, the thing does it destabilizes the economy. Okay, so countries end up losing so much. Let me take for an example, just what transpired recently. This COVID that came up, and then by the grace of God, our man of God was able to take us through the details and all what transpired. When, for example, I'm just taking that as synonymous to this World War II, what actually happened. So you notice that economies were destabilized, and then people could, you know, there's just this bankruptcy. People just run down to nothing. They have saved the banking. What may have saved the banking industry from complete destruction. That's the rise of modern banking. So for the banks and the Fed, the federal, those are the war required financial maneuvers involving billions of dollars. So it says this massive financing operation created companies with huge credit needs, spurred banks into what? Mergers coming together to meet the demand. So this huge expand global markets. Okay. Then we look at more importantly, domestic banking in the United States finally settled to the point where, with the advent of deposit insurance widespread mortgage lending, the average citizen could have confidence in the banking system and reasonable access to credit. So that's the modern era had arrived when they started looking into this because they were displaced and now they needed a place. So that's where the mortgage comes in, at least where to lay their head. And those are basic needs that in every country, those things should be taken care of. When we look at according to the human needs in psychology, where we state the basic needs and then this security, we come to self-esteem and all that. You notice that food, shelter, and clothing are basic needs that at least every or you can even aspire for any other. Without having this education, you wouldn't even think about security. You wouldn't think about it, and then you wouldn't even have the vision to life. and things you need to do. So we'll move to the next slide. These are the generational system evolution of the banking system. Okay. So how merchant banks came into power. And when wars and all these things happen, people need huge sums of money to those courses. So most of this that would have been handled by the national banking system. Like today, what we have the World Bank and then the IMF. In addition to regular banking businesses like loans and corporate finance, okay, soon fell into the merchant banks during this period. So which lasted into the 1920s. Then the merchant banks parlayed their international connections into political and financial power. You notice that currently now, you see, just like we can take, for example, in our economy now, NDC, MPP, when they want to come into power, running all their campaign, they need banks with a lot of money. That's when Bank of Ghana will have to come in, other banks will have to come in, like Pacosi, Indum, GN Bank, they have to pump a lot of money into campaigning. So these banks have direct link, okay, with political and political leaders, and that is where they get their funding and then financial power. So they are directly related and they work hand in hand. So these banks included Goldman Sachs, the Loeb and Co. and JP Morgan and Co. Originally, they relied heavily on commissions from foreign bond, okay, foreign bond contracts that they go into sales from Europe. So with a small backflow, we look at all these are taking bond trading in Europe. So this allowed them capital to build their capital. Okay, so all those significant words, we'll look at them into details. Thank you. And then, okay, we'll move to the next slide. So the network is getting better. And then now to our current age, banking goes digital. We are all aware from our honorable e-levy is taking effect. So banking goes digital current age when we have our Android and then our iPhones and then all bank apps, easy to access, transferring money here and there, using our PayPal, Visa cards. So the most in the world of banking in the late 20th and early 21st centuries has been the advent of online banking, which in its earliest forms dates back to 1980s, but really began to take off with the rise of the internet in the mid 90s. So smartphones, mobile banking further accelerated the trend. And then while many customers continue to conduct at least some of their businesses at brick and mortar banks, the 2021 JD Power Survey found that 41% of them have gone digital only. And currently, as we speak today, most it has gone over 80% of people are directly into mobile banking. And even this year, per research, more higher. That's how come they are now focusing on the electronic tax, and that's how come the e-levy has been introduced because most transactions now are done online. And people shop online, food is bought online. You can just be at home and they deliver to you. So basically, money is like we are going cashless. That's basically that's the idea. Pastor has taught us this over and over the years and keep saying it to us all over over and over again. You don't need to carry $1 million in a bag or huge money on you or even in your wallet. No, you just use your smartphone to transfer money and transactions have been done. So now the government has also decided to focus on that particular industry area and then tax us from there. So basically that is it. And I know we are all familiar at least with this particular banking going digital. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay. This is the oldest bank. Monday, Paschi di Siena. Banca Monte Paschi di Siena is in the oldest surviving bank in the world. It was founded in 1472 in the Tuscan city of Siena, republic. So when we say something is a republic or a country is a republic, meaning they just recovered from a war. That's an economic disruption. So that's how come Ghana first war, first republic, second republic, third republic, meaning that they have series of leaderships that we have overthrown by war. So that's how the republic issue came about. So Bank Montepaschi or the Siena Spa It's actually in Italy and it's engaged in banking sector. It provides banking services, asset management, private banking, and then including life insurance, pension funds, interest. So I just brought this picture to see how mostly they look like. To notice that for security reasons, you cannot just places like this. Not like our current banks where we have, and then you see all forms of little robbery all over the place, here and there. No, they should be heavily guided, and it should be difficult for you to even enter, to even think of robbing it and coming out successfully. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Okay, I just chip this one in brief to just pick some few core points from it. These are just the regarding loans. Okay, looking at money, the banking sector, loans, basically. What that so in Christianity, first and foremost, I would want to establish this that Christianity is not a religion. I would like to establish that. But for the purpose of this lecture, I just put religious values. I have to just put it there. But Christianity is not a religion, and we are much aware about this. So originally, the charging of interest known as usury, okay, was banned by Christian churches. That's it. So this included charging a fee for the use of money. In Christianity, the early Christian days, it was not done. Giving money to your brother, you couldn't give money to your brother and expect him to return it with extra money. No. So such at derail the change. We'll come to all this. And however, over time, the charging of interest became acceptable due to the changing nature of money. That's the term usury. When you remember this term usury, the first person who used it, according to the scriptures, okay, this particular word usury came from the parable Jesus Christ gave about the man with the talent who was given. You remember the lazy one who couldn't make use of his. So, what Jesus made us know from this was that for interest. So, cost of borrowing is known as interest. That's it. Interest simply means the cost on borrowing. When you take money from me, how long the money stays with you, and then the risk involved as to if actually return it or you wouldn't. So the cost on all that borrowing is what is known as interest. So this back dates to scripture in Matthew 25 verse the NIV. We know the story when the master gave to them according to their ability. He traveled and he came back and he asked for what he has given them. So he spoke to the last servant who was very wicked and then lazy. He said, well, then you should have deposit, okay, with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with what? Interest. So this was what the lesson Jesus Christ was giving to us from it. So basically, every money you have, the least you can do with money is to just drop it in the bank to at least get with interest. But that should be the worst place to ever keep your money, as in the good. But there is also a to keep your money. Savings is the last place you can ever keep your money. Savings account, no. It should be the last. That's only if you don't have even any idea or you don't know what to use money for. Just drop it in the. You can go back and pray for a idea and know what to do with it. Different three different translations. Why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? He said at least I could have gotten some interest on. Start talking to the servant. So it's always best to trade when we receive money. And said then you ought to have invested. That's also a stronger one. Translation said then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. That's it. Added to the money he kept. Thank you very much. I think we can move to the next slide. And okay, because I know I'm speaking to a global audience, I just added Islam here. Taking of loan is strictly prohibited. Don't just believe in it at all. So they say the Quran strictly prohibits lending money on interest. Then these are some of the quotes from the Quran. It said, "Oh, you who have believed, do not consume usury. Don't take interest." Then some double it and it is multiplied. He said, "But fear then that you may be what successful has not permitted and has forbidden interest." So they have their quotes from the the Quran. So that's what it stated. So the Quran states that taking interest and making money through unethical means, like what is happening currently, all these unethical means is not only prohibited for Muslims, but used to be prohibited in earlier communities as well. So I just added two references from there, from the Quran, to let you know what they all think about money and especially taking interest. Okay, so we can move to the next slide. The next slide will take us to Judaism, which the Torah is just the first five books. Those are the books Moses wrote. He wrote many books, but these are the first five that was accepted, and then so that Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and then Leviticus. So I think this is the first five books of the Bible. So the Torah and later sections of the Hebrew Bible criticize interest taking, but interpretations of the biblical prohibition vary. So one, Jews are forbidden to charge interest upon loans made to other Jews. That's the key word there. You are not supposed to give loan. You are not supposed to give money to another Jew expecting return. You don't do money to your own brother who is, and he comes to you for money. You don't take interest on it. So, but obliged Jews are forbidden to charge interest upon loans made to other Jews. Then it said, but obliged to charge interest on transactions with non-Jews. But the Hebrew Bible itself gives numerous examples where this provision was what evaded. A reference is in Deuteronomy 23:19. It said, thou shalt not lend upon interest to thy brother, specific. It said, thy brother. Interest of money, interest of victuals, interest of anything that upon interest. So that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou put thy hand unto in the land with that thou went into. Thank you very much. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so briefly, if we are getting something from it, I believe we are learning something so far. Or am I going too fast?
Yes, sir, we are learning something, sir.
Yes.
We are learning.
Too fast.
I think it's pretty
It's okay. Yeah.
It's pretty okay. Okay, but I wonder, am I going too fast?
No, you are okay, sir. Very much
You're
okay.
okay to go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a lengthy one. So now we look at the importance of banking. Most of these things I didn't lift them. I decided not to lift them directly from books, but just make it more practical and then just break it down to our understanding, something that we can really get. So importance of banking. This was I drafted them as personally, just thinking about it and then writing them. So it creates job opportunities. You notice after this consolidation of banks currently, a lot of people lost their jobs and then have to stay home. And then it look savings, meaning the money they deposit with the bank, they're able to look after it, and then they provide loans to businesses. You know all this microfinance and stuff. People or go and buy more goods, provide more services. They depend on the bank with their assets, their collaterals, and then people invest and then off savings. So every savings, just like yesterday, I received some small coins from my bank as interest on my money that was in the account. I laughed, and when I saw that, they are very insignificant. And then we look at all those ones in investment. So banks also play a central role in the transmission of monetary policies. This one is very key. In the transmission of monetary policies, then one of the government's most important tools for achieving economic growth without inflation. This one will take a long time to just try to break it down, but in summary, the banks work with the government to enhance economic growth. The road, about hospitals, free SHS, all these projects the government want to do. Besides the taxes that they outsource money from revenue to generate revenue for the economy, they depend solely on Bank of Ghana and other banks to grant them loans. And these are long-term loans that are used to achieve all this. And then they end up paying it in installments with profits over long periods of time. 20 years, 30, 50, 60, as much as 70, 80 years to be repaying them, depending on the bonds that they sign or the agreements they go in. Few that are listed. We have more than this that the banking industry does. So we can move to the next slide. Okay, so now we move to finance. The first thing that comes to mind is money, 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 money. everybody thinks money. Okay. So finance is a term for the management. So basically this is what it does. It's a term for the management, and then creation and study of money and investments. So it goes with management first. Creation, you create, you study what money is, how, and then you look at investment. So money is not supposed to just be kept. Money has to work for you. Just with the question of how an individual, company, or government acquires money, and then money called capital. Young men want to start business, they're like, Charlie, I need capital, I need capital. That's the first thing they think about. But the Bible tells us that wisdom is the principal thing, meaning wisdom is the capital. He said, in all that getting, understand it. So wisdom first, not capital, as most people always think. But in the context of this lesson now, we'll look at it here, finance being capital in the context of a business and how they spend or invest that money. So finance is then often divided into the following broad categories. So we look at personal finance. That means you as an individual, every money that goes through your hand, what do you do with it? Because it's the Lord that teaches you to profit in all that you do. And there is profit in every labor. And then we have corporate finance. That's as a group, the corporate test. And then we have public finance, like what the government always use. And then our Minister of Finance, you always hear talk. If government wants to take any major decision, just levy, he has to talk. Anything can be done, or we even proceed with it. Okay, so this is just a summary of finance. And then we'll move to the next slide. Okay. So at the same time, and corresponding finance is about overall system. That is the financial market that allow the flow of money via investments and other financial instruments between and within these areas. This flow is facilitated by the financial services sector. Then finance therefore refers to the study of, and then blah blah blah. We move to the base. A major focus within finance is investment management. Hey, I just noticed my time, eh? And then fundamental to these areas is the valuation of assets such as stocks, bonds, loans, but also by extension entire companies. Then we look at asset allocation. That's the mix of portfolio. It's also fundamental here. Okay, these are just brief details that we can read about, basically having to do with finance. We'll move to our next slide. Okay, so we look at financial literacy. That's also a whole concept about it. Just like you have education in various areas, you must have financial literacy. Even as an individual, you should understand money and how money works. So financial literacy is the confident understanding of concepts. There are lots, including saving first and debt. That leads to an overall sense of financial well-being. When we look at debt and bad debt, so we'll look at them in details, and then they all have areas to it. Then the idea of financial education became well established only under different. So they gave it a name like home economics. Okay, the money that comes in, what the husband gets, the wife, to pay the children's fees, how to pay the rent, electricity bill, like how to manage the, and then household also finances. Then we have family. There are families like that. There are families like that before they pay fees. It's like father, mother, children. They take care of the first, second, third born. They go to school, they graduate from university. Immediately you graduate, you take responsibility for your younger one. I know families like that who do that. So these are family finance. And they're able to arrange it in a way that the father buys a land, he's able to build to some time, and the children also grow, they continue a family business, they run it together. It's transgenerational. And also we have the so financial literacy is having a basic grasp of money matters, and it's four pillars. So basically, these are fundamental pillars for financial literacy. You look at debt, you look at budgeting, you look at saving, and you look at investment. These four. When you understand them perfectly, you are good to go. You have value for money, you know how to spend, you know when to save, you know when not to spend on things that are not needed, things that are not called for. And money, your cash flow will always be intact. And you know what you spend money on at every point in time. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, there are types of finance. So basically, I will look at the three sessions. Finance is majorly divided into three: personal finance, as explained earlier, corporate, and then public finance. So move to the next slide. Okay, we look at the finance. Okay, the first is the principle of risk and return. Before you invest in anything, you should look at the risks, the risks involved. This one, should I say this? Taking for example, what happened in men's gold. Okay, men's gold. That's number one. People investing their money in portions of gold and then expecting returns within a certain period. There are some profit margins. You know, we are believers. There are some things I can share here. There are some profit margins which are very abnormal. Nobody should be able to take your money and tell you in the next 30% interest. It's abnormal. So mostly ask yourself, what at all is he using that money for? So why don't you also find out what he's investing that money into? And then you should also directly, rather than entrusting all such money to one person and expecting him to return it. Most of them have not received their money. Some have received, some are yet to receive. You get it. But in it, this trend of businesses, it doesn't even make sense. Sitting back to look at it, it doesn't. It doesn't. So the principle of risk and return. Then we have time value of money. If I give you 10,000 today, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's still not that value wouldn't still be 10,000. Imagine lands that people buy today. Let's say for half plot or 12,000 for a one plot of land. In the next year, 2, 3 years, if you want to sell it, increase. You can still sell it for 15, 30, or even some at most 70. Look at those who bought lands at greater estate or bought lands at Krasaco. Today, when they want to sell a quarter plot, can even go as much as 80,000 plus, and they can even choose to sell it in dollars. So that's time value for money. And then we look at cash flow principle, the principle of profitability and liquidity. Okay, and we have principles of diversity, and then the hedging principle of finance. All these are more technical words, and then they will take time to go through them one after the other. So we'll move to the next slide. But do any of us have a question on this particular slide? Any question on this particular slide?
Uh, so you said we'll delve into it much more deeper. So
Okay, looking at the time, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so let's move to we can move to the next slide. Okay, credit score. This credit score is basically like your cash flow. You know, mostly before you access a loan or something, they try to find out your background. They do some background research about you to find out whether all the loans you have ever taken in your life, whether you have been faithful and honest in paying them off. So a credit score is a numerical expression based on a level analysis of a person's credit file, then the credit worthiness, okay, of an individual. And then a credit score is primarily based on a credit report information, typically sourced. It is sourced from credit bureaus. And in Ghana, basically the two, I think from my end, is SDS and then DMB. The DMB is done in Brazil. So they normally regulate, and they work with the chief auditors. Those are the chief auditors reports, and they work directly with Bank of Ghana. So all financial institutions always make sure that their records are with these two institutions. So they regulate. So assuming somebody takes a loan in from maybe Bank GCB, and then he wanted to go behind and go and take another loan from let's say Bank of Africa, with that one he took from. By the time he go there, this credit bureau report will show that he once took a loan from these people, and he should make sure he finish paying them before coming to access this second one. And if he was not committed in paying that one, they wouldn't grant him a new one from this other bank. So, and if you default, they blacklist you to make sure that your name is spread all over. That's why mostly, let me just chip this one in. Mostly, if you are working in a financial institution for any form of fraud, if you lose your job or you are being your appointment is terminated in any financial institution, it is difficult to get any other banking industry job to do. Because these platforms, this SDS Credit Bureau and all those platforms, your name goes across particular, your name goes across. So definitely any bank you go, the interview and every other, but immediately they find out all these records, you may not be granted some public audience. And you will not even be employed. That's basically it. And then assuming you left Ghana to another country, Those reports are there. So they can easily fall on it and know your track record and how honest you have been in taking money and how you've been able to pay back. Okay. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so the importance of finance. This okay, this also basically outsourced first to sustain economic downturn. Just like this COVID happened. You recently heard what Bank of Ghana said, the amount of money they said they give to to us, to Ghana, and what we heard them say they received. Between not interested in politics and all that. We are looking at so finance basically economic during this COVID time. Things teachers not working, they are still being paid salary, or being paid extra allowances to sustain them and all that. So that is what it does. Goes down. You need finance to resuscitate the economy, and then secondly to help outline long-term goals. Even you as an individual, some of us now, let me bring it. If you want to marry now, marriage is a long-term goal. Before you marry, you should be looking at finance. Definitely, your wife, you have a place to stay. You take care of the home, the family when the child comes in. So when you have finance now, these things are available to you. You can plan. You can have long-term goals. In the next 2 3 years, I want to maybe be driving. I want to do my PhD. I want to take up this course. I want to travel here to accomplish this. I want to start a business. Always help you to plan them long term and always have the ease, and also how to generate money, finance money, and how to organize operations. Okay, maybe starting a business, you want to organize operations. You need maybe according to what is available, readily available. You can pay 5 or 10 staff, 100 people, and at the end of the month, you wouldn't be able to pay them. And then also how to manage cash flow. How cash flow within your petty cash expenses, the things you buy, maybe fuel for the company, standby generator to quickly cover when power goes off, your raw materials that you need, the services, the products, things the business. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Hey, brother Desire, please mind time. You have time. We started at 6:10. How many minutes more do I have so I can quickly run up? Hello, sir. Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
you have. Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we started at 6:10, so you basically
6:10.
have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Oh wow.
Yeah, because
Okay,
you
so
took
let me
10
run
minutes of
up.
your
Let me
time.
run. So let me run up quickly. We are looking at investments. Okay, an investment is an asset or item acquired with the goal of generating income or appreciation. Has to do with whatever I put in. I'm expecting what an appreciation. You should appreciate. Meaning, there should be something value added to it, and there should be something on top. Appreciation refers to an increase in value of an asset over the time. So when an individual purchases a intent is not to consume the good, but rather to use it in the future to create wealth. So that's when wealth creation comes in. So, okay, dividend. Okay, these are key words when it comes to investments. A dividend is a distribution of profit by a corporation, company to its what shareholders. A brief example is okay. Imagine I want to start a business. Okay, I want to go into buying and selling. I've seen some maybe nice sneaker shoes or t-shirts I want to buy for maybe few of my friends at school. And then I'm like, okay, brother, Desire, help me with maybe 20 CDs. Brother Wonder, help me with 20 CDs. I add it to my 10 CD I have. That is 50 CDs. I go and purchase maybe 5 pieces of the branded Lacoste shirts or the shoes. And then I come and sell them at 15 CDs each. On top of all that, man, when I come back, I'm supposed to give you a then the profit that was actualized, the profit. Now we now sit down and share that one based on how much you put in. So the person putting in 20 cedi should receive the same as the person also put in an extra 20, and the person who like myself, I should receive half of the profit that you both of you will receive on top of the money. So basically that becomes the dividend, and then what we shared. So basically it is profit actualized and then shared among the shareholders in a particular state. Oh, so move to the next slide. Okay, so we have types of investments. These ones I'll just go straight to them. We have growth investment, we have shares, we have property, cash flow, fixed interest, and then defensive investment. This one I wanted to explain it briefly. A defensive investment strategy entails regular portfolio rebalancing to maintain an intended asset allocation. You see, this defensive investment is like keeping something against the way people normally hold things, keeping something against the time when the need will actually arise. Recently, I think last 2 weeks Friday, I was going to buy fuel in a filling station. They had, but when we got there with the company van, they told us, "Oh, diesel is finished." We went to another filling station. They said diesel is finished. We went to another one. They said diesel is finished. So that day we couldn't buy, and we came to park the car. You know, the next day they reviewed prices of fuel, and then the prices went higher. And when we went back to that same filling, they told us, "Oh, they have," and they now opened it and filled it for us. Meaning that they sold it at a different. They bought it at that old price, and they waited for the new price to be what to be it was initiated. They went ahead to sell it at the new price, meaning that they made extra profits based on how much they bought it. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Or what to invest in as a youth. This part is much more interactive. I wanted to just all mention one thing that we think we should do. Then I'll go straight to the answer and then we'll close from there. So
Oh,
basically,
sorry.
okay, we'll go back. We'll go back. We'll go back again. Okay, basically, what do we invest in as a youth? As a youth, what do you do as a youth?
Um,
Oh, let's go back. We'll just go back, let's say 4 times. Yeah, the page with the money. Okay, so what to invest in as a youth? Basically, let me just go straight to it. What to invest in as a youth? In your early, let's say in your early 20s, to invest, you don't need to even think so much about what to invest in. You don't need to think so much about what to invest. You should first and foremost, you should invest in yourself. Every money you make as a youth, invest in yourself. Take courses, go to school, add value to yourself, find ways and means of income. Okay, maybe you are teaching. I just want to use practical example. You are teaching. All the salaries you are receiving now will not be enough to achieve most of the things you want to do. But use that money to invest that money in yourself. So that in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, at least when you graduate or when you come out of something, definitely your salary will automatically increase. Like my this again. I'm schooling today and tomorrow. I'll be in class. Actually, today I couldn't go because of this seminar. I have to give it my best and attend it, and then I'll be in class tomorrow. So I do weekend. So no, there shouldn't be any level you get to feel you are done. You are done learning. You should always learn to improve. Best investment you can give yourself before you think about mortgage and then buying landed property, assets, and car and all those stuff. No, or going into businesses. You need money to run them, but first and foremost, add value to yourself, and then that will be it. Jesus Christ took time to add value to himself at the age of 30 before he started ministry. 3.5 years he was done. Okay, Joseph also at the same thing. He added value to himself. He was taking care of other people's business, went to prison, helping people achieve their dreams and all that before he interpreted the king's dream to become actually meant to be. Okay, Daniel, the same thing as a youth. Bible said Daniel, Daniel chose in his heart not to defile himself. So these are key examples. And what Abraham also did, what Isaac did, all these people, they invested in themselves and then they took over the world. Our father, Pastor Chris, has invested in himself so much that now when he's speaking, he knows what he's saying and he knows what he's talking about. Okay, in the scriptures, he has studied to show himself approved. And now he can stand everywhere and declare those words and we see them come to pass. So we'll move straight to the next slide and then I'll just open it up. Okay, so invest in education, that's formal education. Look at physical assets, that's example, landed properties and all that, then skills acquisition. And then the TVET. This TVET is a part I really wanted us to give attention to as young as we are. That's technical vocational education and training. So this refers to all forms and levels of education and training which provide knowledge and skills. Okay. Website development, or what Brother Desire was sharing with us yesterday. So much nuggets in so much but in fact, I'll see you after these sessions, and then I need those notes. I really, really want to learn. And what Brother Wanda also started sharing. Okay, these are things we need, and it will help us. Website development, developing apps. These are things in our day. What made Mark Zuckerberg the richest, one of the richest today? It's just, it's a skill. It's a skill. These are the things that are controlling the world now. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. And then how to choose the best investment policies. You look at the risk involved. So it's best to invest in instant and always research before attempting any. And then the trustworthiness of the institution. How long do you intend to see it mature, or can you wait? And then preparing ahead of the longevity, the of the firm or institution. So these are all their trustworthiness. And then we look at the last slide. Okay, so importance of investment. When you invest, what do you intend to see at the end of every investment? Okay, I think it's the network. I have 1 minute. Okay, so this is a brief development with that banking finance. Okay, so I just an investment. I just measure these three to tell you how they contribute to an economy portfolio. This is because with monetary policy, that's fiscal policy, and then financial, an economy can achieve its full productivity. So productivity is the performance of as to whether the economy is growing or it is dipping. That means reducing or declining. And then they help you to know the economic growth of a country. So a perfect understanding of these three keys help us as an individual to now practically to allocate funds judiciously. As a youth, when you understand these three for finance, investment, and banking, you should be able to allocate funds judiciously. That's wisely. And you should be able to avoid waste. Like the prodigal son, he took his father's his share of the inheritance, he went to waste it. And now he came to himself. He was eating with pigs and have to return back. Prioritize resources. As young as we are, all the money you are receiving now, learn to invest them. Invest them and don't spend. We shouldn't spend as youth. Except supposed to be eating, let's say, fish or even eating egg. You choose to go to the Kempiski, you choose to go to big place to go and eat one full chicken. No, no. When your salary can even pay for just one chicken, your whole salary for a month, you are now spending it on one meal. It's not right. And financial discipline, you should be disciplined financially. And these are things that will help you to grow as a Christian and also manage your finances and then have that liberty to achieve and fulfill. So move to the last slide. And then that's a popular quote. So the way to get started is quit talking and begin what Disney. Here's just one quote for us. So the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Always focus on doing something. Don't talk. There are times you can talk about visions. Oh, this is what God is telling me to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But after all the talking, just get something done. Pastor will tell you keep saying it. If you keep saying it, you also take necessary steps in that same direction. And then lastly, move to the my favorite quote from the Bible for all is in James 1:22, which says, "But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only." This here, make sure we get them done. We should always learn to do. We should do. Thank you very, very much. I would like to use this opportunity also to thank you so much, brother. It is an opportunity, and I believe we've learned. And also thank my highly esteemed president, PhD, Mr. Disman Oyakilome. So thank you very much. And we'll bring our
All
session to
right.
a close.
All right. Thank you so much for this very, very educative session. Most of us usually ignore the banking stuff. Like we leave it for the expert. Like we say, let me call my banker. Let me call someone who already knows. We don't really want to bother ourselves with it. But this has been a very educative session, getting to know the background of banking, finance, and investment, and then knowing how it's transitioned from where it was to how it got digital, and then how banking um, was done in Bible days. This was very, very educative. And personally, I learned so much. Yeah, thank you so much for this beautiful and inspiring session. All right, so I just realized that the RSVP had closed. So I think when
Yeah.
so that means anybody joining with will not be able to join
Yeah.
because unless you use the direct link that I shared on the group. I just noticed someone like they couldn't join, and I noticed that the RSVP was closed. I should have set it to the end of the meeting. I set it to the beginning of the meeting.
Oh.
So okay, I think Brasilom is connected, so he will take his session and then we'll run. Brasilom, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, brother Desire.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and then you begin your session.
Okay.
Let me try and open the meeting again and see whether some people can join.
Okay.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, brother Desire.
Okay, so I was saying you can begin your session by sharing your screen and then start your presentation.
Okay.
So the next presentation will be handled by Brasilom. That's business group and development. So the stage is yours.
Everyone, my name is Selim Makoli, and I'm a business development consultant, and I'm your facilitator for this session. Yes, so I'm going to talk about business growth and development. It is a pleasure meeting all of you. Yes. So let's start this presentation. A business development coach for your development, as well as a growth strategy, starting a business or already in the industry. So we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about having an executive summary. Then we finally round up with business and industry over. Yes. So what is business? So in terms of business is any activity that provides goods and services to consumers for the purpose of making a profit. However, there are non-profit business activities which are basically set up to provide educational services. Yes, but this presentation is dedicated for entrepreneurs and business owners who wish to build and sustain their business. Yes, so the key to starting a business is having an idea. Types of business ideas. The very first one that can is alternative solutions to the problem. So, for example, MTN noticed the need
Barcelona?
to. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we are not seeing your presentation. What we are seeing is
Can,
your just the first page. So you're not seeing your extended screen.
oh, really?
Yeah. So what we are seeing is just the first page.
Can you see it now? Or still on
No,
the first screen?
it's still on the first page. So you're actually sharing your PowerPoint page with us. I think it's best you share the entire screen so that we can. It's much easier that way.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. So if you can stop sharing and then share the entire screen instead.
Okay.
So that way when you expand it, you can see the slideshow. We're not seeing the slideshow, we're only seeing the um, so if you can share the entire screen.
Are you showing now?
Uh, are you sharing a slideshow or your PowerPoint presentation? Is it a slideshow you're
So,
sharing us?
showing the slide.
Okay, so what we can see is the PowerPoint edit page with the home, file, insert, design, and then
Oh,
yeah. So if you can share then your entire desktop,
okay.
yeah, that way when you expand it, we can see you representing.
Is, is
Yeah,
it showing now? Okay. Okay, is
yeah,
it okay
perfect.
now?
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, yes. So I was
thank you very much.
okay, you're welcome, sir. Yes. So I think that we want to start with business entirely. Then need to have a business plan. Then need to need an executive summary of a business idea or of the business plan you have in mind. Then lastly, we look at overview and the industry overview of business idea you have in mind. Yeah, that is, that is the objective of today's discussion. Yes, and I began by saying a business is an activity that provides goods and services to consumers for the sole purpose of making profits. But however, there are some activities whose sole main activities are not geared towards. However, they are social and educational purposes. Yes, however, my presentation is dedicated to entrepreneurs who want to build and sustain businesses. Yes. Yes. Before I had to go back. Yes. So, what is a business idea? We are quick to say, I have an idea. I have an idea, but what specific idea that we have, or the specific ideas we have that we want to channel to become a business that we want to pursue, most of the times doesn't come to fruition. However, these are five main keys. Yeah, these are five various strategies that can help you in nurturing and developing ideas towards the idea you have in mind. Is an innovative solution to an everyday problem. Yes, I was citing MTN Ghana. MTN Ghana stated the stating how it has large cash in the system in order to help reduce the amount of large cash moving around through the system, money services. Yes, and through that, it has helped reduce a lot of cash in the system to electronic cash. Yes, so that is their innovative solution to an everyday problem, which is a business and it's an employment system. Yes, that's some of the ideas. So in our everyday life or solutions to everyday come across, that might lead us to mighty solutions and to build up masses just from that little solutions. A basic problem you might not think that is what necessary solving, but that is where the idea and the solution is. Also, a business idea trying to put in the market. So, for example, you notice that uh, you sell, yeah, okay, you sell and the students don't have access to get to the pens. So you can an idea as to how to let the students get the pens. So through innovation, send the pens to the school to actually to let the students buy the pens from you. So I've kind of bridged the gap between you, the seller, and between the consumer. So as a result of that, you can actually in our everyday walk of life, if you kind of understand the various market in terms of the various, you look at the various gaps in the various industries that will help you to develop an idea to kind of that you want to develop. And also the third key ways of bringing up or nurturing a business idea is bringing innovative services or products to the market. Or what you now see as the reinvention that that's what people are reinventing now. The popular statement says there isn't a new thing on the system now. It's all reinvention of the old stuff that has passed away. So you can also go back to the old things or how we previously did handle our services, our thing that you are engaged in. That you think that you can reinvent kind of thing our modern way of living. That is also another way of nurturing fun is an interest or hobby that's coming. For example, you're going to talk about it is a hobby that you are taking. First way of recognize the skills you're having is for you to account or join a team. That is a way of making use of a hobby of interest you have. Or for example, you have interest you have the interest in let's say in producing music, you have your talent. You don't just sit back and assume that oh once I am talented I can make it with that need to develop it. Yes, so that is another way of building a business idea. And the very last one is utilizing skills you have learned in your career. So as you're journeying through your career and life, there are certain skills you are the one that have learned or adapted as various stages in life. So to develop into a business idea, institutions, or to solve requirements and other various benefits of environment. Yeah, so these are the five. I'm sure at the end of this meeting, you can take the 5 key steps of bringing up a business idea. One, an everyday problem around your sphere that you think you can solve. You can well develop a business idea, or you study the market to the various industries, locate the gap, see how you can bridge the gap. That is where your idea can come from. Or you can also times into the old fashioned ways of doing things, see how we can reinvent them. Yes, that's your business I think about. If you are talented, the fourth one, if you are talented with talent, with skills and abilities, you can also develop on that to kind of develop a business idea out from the skills you have learned through your various stages in life. That one another sort of building a business idea. Our next slide is talking often hear that if you are planning to go, yes, and that is very many attempts have the business ideas and before that my head one is in my I cannot execute it. However, if you don't to turn it down systematically, to sit down, don't sit down to have a plan for it. It's just going to be remaining in your mind and you'll be carrying it without it coming. Creating a business plan lies in the process of research and thinking about this idea in a systematic. So as you are also researching business idea you have. That is how come business planning is very important because it helps you do the idea you have. You think you're not the an environment or to a circumstantial situation. You're looking at all other factors that can come together to make the act of planning helps you think through the business ideas, steady process, and also about the idea. Also brings about also help to refine the business idea critically. A business plan is very critical. Business planning is thinking of the business ideas. Business ideas must be assessed, and that is why planning, having a business plan is necessary. Um, in your mind, you don't take time to make proper assessment of what you have. But one with with, with systematic processes, with research, with data, with facts, all appearing in front of you, it helps you assess already whether you need to do this, you need to talk to this, that you need to further develop you in developing that idea. And having a business plan is very key to developing a business idea. Recent times do here is not really necessary. Think that they can do it without or it, but they're missing out for actually a business and that will help you structure your thoughts and to develop your objectives and ideas. Down to research, once you're sitting down to develop an idea, it helps objectives, your goals. It brings about develop structures in attaining the business idea you have. That is how come having a business plan is very, very key. Yes, now part of a lot of people keep ideas to themselves, and unfortunately, many die without actually having those ideas come to fruition because they didn't do the business aspect of that business idea. Yes, you can have an idea, but if you don't have a plan for it, then you're actually planning to fail. Then we move to the next slide, which talks about the executive summary. Yes, executive summary is a entire plan setting for it. It gives you an overview of the plan. It describes the business, the problem the business intends to solve, its target markets, and the financial highlights. That is how come it's key to have an executive summary and idea through the business plan. In doing that, first one, it helps you know the products and intend to offer. It helps you understand the customer base of the intended business sell or you're trying to provide out there. It also tells you why there's a need of the business and what is that is that is the particular business that you have that is actually necessary. So for example, let's take a study of Nokia. Realize that from the year going, Nokia Motorola were very common in the system. However, because most of the time, most established businesses or individuals bring products into the system, don't get time to understand. What they do is once they push the product into the system, circulating for a while, they forget about their business plan. Once you revisit your business plan, it helps you now make executive summary, which helps you in reassessing your business plan. As a result of that, it brings ideas and innovations into your mind as to how to reinvent the product you are having. And that is how come Samsung and iPhone are reinventing their product into the system every now and then because they're always revisiting their business plan and help them making an executive summary of the product of a particular um, a commodity or service they have in the system. This help you to know whether you should be reading every time every or it's okay to kind of our or let's do our rebranding exercises based on our assessment that come an executive summary is executive summary. Yes, you might have a business plan, but if you don't, it's going to be difficult because you're not targeting, you're targeting, and the executive summary is important. It helps you and kind of narrow down your thoughts to the specifics of your business idea that you have in your mind. Yes. The next part of the our slide is going to talk about having a business overview. Over here, we are looking at the marketing and the SWOT analysis of the idea you have. Basically, marketing includes all type of activities necessary to move a product or services to the customer. It's a bridge between the business and the consumer. However, a marketing research done is very key to the success of the services or product we tend to the consumers or the various customers you're having. And there are four basic research marketing research that has to be done. The first one is the primary research. In primary research, you use your own personal experiences, you use your own personal data to kind of do your own research, make take your personal decision. For example, let's say you're a car dealer and you want to know information about the competitors on the yellow book is yours, the details of and the description of their services all contained in it. You can purchase the images to look for all the competitors that sells or that in cars in a particular area, in a particular region that you are. This helps you in making an assessment of the product that you want to do. Because when you're able to do that, you are doing that based on your own ideology and specifics without looking at the much broader data. That is how come as a primary research. However, the secondary research deals with making your choices based on published content, the journal, newspaper, the magazines. We talk about the various industry profiles, companies, businesses that you found on the internet, the trade journals. Those are where you avenues for you to do your secondary research concerning a particular idea or business plan or business service or in the market. Those are very two key ways of making a research. Then the third one is consumer preferences. Yeah, so consumer preferences, you are looking at the consumer. So for example, you sell a phone and you know when you get to cycle, there are a lot of phone shops around. So it's easier for you to kind of market and sell your phone easily around the circle area. That is where the consumer preferences. Then as let's say airport sales and you are selling a bulk number of phones as compared to cycle, the number of phone purchases at cycle will be higher than you making phone purchases at airport sales based on the consumer preferences at two different locations because the two have their choices. Yes, so in trying to kind of understand service and the consumer market they are looking to, you need to understand the consumer choices as well, which is helps you position the services and locations to areas that you can easily make your profit. So that is very key in helping your consumer database you have. The next one is marketing plan and marketing because the service that you intend to offer needs to meet your consumer base. You don't want to put up a strategy that at the end of the day you're not meeting your customers or consumers. You mean that you need to factor in the trends, the consumer preference, you need to factor in the primary research, you need to factor in All this thing helps you in developing your pricing, in developing the location where you think you want to put your business, helps you in developing how or marketing strategy to use. One marketing strategy might work in a particular area but might not work in another area. Another marketing strategy might work in an industry but might not work in another industry. So once you get to understand your primary research, your secondary, you understand your consumer preferences and their choices, it helps you putting up to marketing strategy. And once you have a marketing strategy, it helps you develop the whole idea into a plan now to kind of give you an idea and an overview of how to actually go about market services that you have in mind or already established. The next key thing after developing your marketing plan and strategy, do a SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis helps it minimizes the effective the SWOT analysis minimize the effect of weakness in your business or the services you tend to provide. It helps you maximize the strength of your business. The SWOT is a useful technique. It's a useful technique for understanding business. And a SWOT is an acronym for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So in this case, we look at right for every particular service. You look at the strength of the services that once you look at the strength, you look at the weakness of the services that actually provide. Look for opportunities. I also look at the threats, yes, which is very key as well. Most of the times, a lot of people just embark on their provision of service threats because when you look at your plan holistically, look at the strength, look at the weakness, look at the opportunities and the threats. If you actually do your SWOT concerning the service or the services you do, one you get to know the strength and help the strength of your business very well. It helps you in marketing particular product. It helps you market as to how to go about a particular service you intend to or a particular product you because not these are the product or services that you have. It also presents of the service you offer. Don't just look at the strength as well. Look at the weakness, and once you know the weaknesses, that as a medium and idea to bring a solution to that particular weakness of the service or idea or product you intend to put on the market. That thing it brings about the strength of the idea or the services you have in mind, which is very key. The next thing about the SWOT analysis, it probably does do an overview of the potential growth and increase of the services that you intend to put out to the market or to kind of develop because you already know your strength, you already know your weaknesses. It helps it brings the various look at it brings about the you have. Once various opportunity that is ahead of you based on the services you are handling or based on the services you offer, it presents you a good and which is a plus and which is very necessary as well. The other thing is once you know of your strength, once you get to know of your weakness, once you get opportunities, it helps you understand the threats that come to the position of yourself. So for example, space MTN knows that Vodafone knows that threat. So has various strategies to kind of combat ideas or ads or phone might trying to place in the market because they want to sustain their dominance is a threat. So they kind of also understand that. And in the process of understanding what Vodafone does, it brings them also ideas. And through bringing them ideas, it kind of strengthens their dominance into the market because they are can never stress that put onto the market. And that is how threats works. Yes. On my next slide, that is going to talk about industry analysis. Yes, an industry that we need to understand. One, we are looking at your growth potential. We are looking
Time
at
check.
your competitors. Brazil.
Time check. You have 5 more minutes.
Yes, so we are
I
looking
think
at
there's another meeting by 8. We have another meeting. I have another meeting by 8.
oh, yes, you are looking at the competitors. You are looking at the operational plan. Very key in running a business. Now, the financial analysis gives you an understanding of the relative position of the business or the idea you have in relation to other products or services you have around. You're looking at the total size of the market, the total size of the targeted consumer. You're looking at the targeted market as well. And for the competitors, you need to business as a competitor. That is very key because once you understand that you have a competitor, it can be direct, it can be indirect. The direct is they produce the same similar goods. The indirect is the market is a playing field. So we are all aiming towards to get the money from the customer. So every other is an indirect competitor. Then finally describe the daily operationalization about business idea or plan or organizational strategy you might have. You need to have an operational plan. Yeah, you're looking at the location, you're looking at the people that you're going to work with, you're looking at the processes that you surrounding environment. All these things help you to make analysis of the idea or plan or idea you have to bring to the market based on your own personal idea you have very fruitful. I'm moving on to the which talks about the financial management. Yes, this is a very crucial part of a business because every business runs with funds and money. Where there's no funds and money, you don't run a business. And for you to able to understand for you to be able to and understand the financial management of a company or a business, you need to understand the accounting and financial terms. Yes, you need to understand statement, you need to understand how the balance sheet works, you need to understand how projected looks like, you need to have an understanding of all this accounting terms to help you uh, in planning your planning because it helps you either uh, helps you in finding out funds for the business plan that you might have. It helps you in bringing out financial models as to how to bring in your business. Yes, and it's very yes. And so at this point, I want to know if there are any questions for me based on what I've touched on so far.
Okay, so if anyone has a question, the person can ask the question, ask, and then okay, because I have to join another meeting, but
Okay.
yeah, I think Barcelona we have a meeting with our PCA leader,
Yes, exactly. I'm aware.
yeah, at 8. So, brother Wanda will taking his last session. Um, then once it's done, I'll come and wrap the event up.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so those who want to still stay behind, I want you to take the session because we are recording it. So for me, I would have to jump off into that meeting and then come back to end the session and end the recording.
Okay. And yeah, so thanks to also join that as well. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity. It has been an amazing moment listening and sharing. Yes, we have learned a lot. Thank you, Brother Francis, for an awesome session. Yeah.
All right. So, but I wonder, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready now, sir.
Okay. So you can go ahead with your presentation. I think in 45 minutes, and then after my meeting, I'll join in and then wrap it up because I want us to record your session completely. All right.
Yeah, sure. All right, so thank you for this session, and I want to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to uh, our president of the Health World Next, Mr. Desmond Oyakilome, for the investment of the world and for the opportunity. And also, I want to say thank you to Brother Desire, for the opportunity of taking this session. So I think share my screen and then we move into uh, the basics of Forex, an introduction to Forex. Can you please see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Just give me a second.
I think it's easier when you share your entire screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me quickly get into it. Okay. So please, is it visible now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. So basically, we're going to look at these few things when it comes to Forex. So we'll be looking at a few misconceptions people have about Forex trading. Then we'll also be looking into the history of Forex, a brief history of Forex. And then we'll look at what Forex is and then what is traded actually in the Forex market, whom the participants of the market are. And then we'll also be looking at why to trade Forex. Then we'll also come down to when exactly to trade Forex because there are times within which you have to trade Forex. Then we'll also be looking at basic jargons, when it comes to the Forex market. And then the kind of mindset, a trader or a Forex trader needs to have. And then we'll now look briefly into how to get started. So quickly, let me move to next slide. Okay, so basically, these are a few misconceptions. There are more. There are more of them, but because of time, I'll just have to touch on these few quickly, and then we move on. So basically, people who Forex think that Forex is a get-rich-quick scheme, but truth be told, there is more to Forex than people hear about. So people hear about Forex and are like, once you get in there, you begin to make a lot of money and all that. If you know about it, truth be told, you lose much more money than you make. So it is not a get rich quick scheme. That one traders win is another, which is very much not true. You know, there are actually various time frames that people work with. There are people who trade, you know, we call
Um,
them day traders.
your screen is not visible. We can't see your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me, let me check what it is. Share screen. Is it okay now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So people say that one trader's win is another's loss, which is outrightly not true. There are various time frames within trade. There are people who trade within people who trade within 30 minutes, people who trade within an hour. There are people who also trade, within a trade and hold on until like a year, you know. So everybody can make profit once he gets into the market. If you know what you are doing and know how to go about it, there's no doubt that you make the profit that you're supposed to make. Another one also is that you can of your emotions. Truth be told, in the game of forex, as soon as your money gets in there, this is your blood, this is your sweat, this is something you have toiled for, and put in as a form of investment and trying to work with. There is no way you are going to just go in and be like, if I lose it, it's just fine. Your emotions will definitely be attached to it because it is something you have worked for over the time. So way you can get rid entirely of, you can make these emotions work in your favor. Okay. Then people say that forex is a scam. Forex is never a scam if you are getting into the market all by yourself. Just like in a normal day life, you don't expect to probably say that, okay, sending somebody into the market and then to buy something from me, and then you give the person money, and in some instances you'll be like, okay, you just give the person the exact money. No, the person has to make something on it. So in the case of forex, where the scam aspect, when some brokers that are really not certified, so background check on some of these, or people that tend give me your money, I'll trade for you and give you returns on it. If you don't find out about, or you don't do a critical background check on these people, and you just get into the market and say, okay, I'm giving my money to these people, to trade for me and all that, you are going to lose your money big time. You know. Then another one also is that the more complex the strategy, the better. In forex, there are strategies that you have to actually devise in order to be able to the game. Now, if there are simple strategies, in making money, and then sometimes when you devise some complex strategies, you can be able to get into certain that you know but then it doesn't mean that simple strategies don't make money. I over the time, in my trading journey, I've actually uh, got the opportunity to have access to certain strategies that are even making simple strategies. I mean that are even making money than people who claim to have very complex strategies. Some people, you see certain types of strategies you can't understand. It will after you actually have to take a long time before you get a critical understanding of some of those strategies. So it doesn't mean that if the strategy is complex, you automatically make profit. No. Then another one also is that forex is short-term traders, which is very much not true. As I said earlier, there are people who can hold trades for up to like 6 months, one, you know. So forex is never for only short-term traders. Yes, there are short-term traders in there. People who can even trade for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and they are out of the market for the day. They trade for just 10 minutes or 30 minutes, and then they are off the market for the day. So, but it's not only for short-term traders. There are long-term traders also in there. Then there are people also say that you are supposed to forex trading with only one currency pair. which is not true. There are several currency pairs. There are several currency pairs. So what you have to do is that you can try and all several currency pairs at a time. But then what you do is that when you get to a point, you have to actually analyze a particular currency that you will stick with, which means that you over realize that this particular currency pair, I've studied it, and then profits with other currency pairs I trade with. I'm making much more profits from here. You know, stick with this one, and that is actually have to people who want to get into the field of forex trading. So these are a few misconceptions about forex trading. But then, if we are able to get over these misconceptions, I believe that you know you are bound to make level of profit in the field of forex. So I'm moving to my next slide, and we'll be watching a brief video, with respect to the history of forex. So let's quickly get into that, and then we.
We are not getting the sound feedback.
Okay, you're not getting the sound feedback.
No.
Okay, let me. Press star 1 to copy this call to you at 26 pesos for 60 days and subscribe at 65 pesos for 30 days. Okay, so please, sorry about that though, but I think it's the browser I'm using, so I'm switching to the Google Chrome. So in the next 1 minute, I should get that switched. And then, sorry about that. So please let's just
Okay.
hold on. But in the course of time, if we have any questions, we can please use the chat bar.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me, please?
Yeah. Yeah. Bryce. Yeah. Good evening. There's a meeting with the icon going right now on Zoom. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so as I was saying, in the course of time, if we have any questions, we can just quickly the chat bar, and then I'll get to it. Can we please see my screen now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Let's get started on the
So,
starting with the
is
bartering
the audio
system.
okay now?
In the bartering system,
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can
goods for
proceed.
services.
Okay.
People typically traded things such as livestock, skills, talents, grains, and agriculture, and even people. With the bartering system, people traded things they didn't need for things they wanted or needed. For example, the hunter might to the carpenter for the carpenter's promise to fix his roof. The may have been very easy to establish. However, it was very much rigged with issues. For instance, what if you had something that no one else wanted? It would be very hard to exchange. The limited shelf life also presented an issue. If you were trading livestock or condition depended on their age and condition. For example, you wouldn't get very much money with a bunch of those types of goods and services would put a huge demand on the trader. They would have to travel with a large barrage of people in order to care for their property that they wanted to exchange. Many times, goods would spoil and animals would often die during transport. There was also the issue of fairness in exchange. Both people would have to agree about what each wanted before the exchange could. The issue was trying to do business in small increments. Most things had to be traded in bulk. Eventually, the bartering system was abandoned for a more intermediate commodity system. In ancient China, Africa, and India, they used cowrie shells. It was based on the koku, which was a unit of rice. The shekel was a specific weight of barley. Contrary to popular belief, precious metals have rarely been used outside of large societies in the form of trade due to them being very scarce and hard to mine. Has only been used as currency for a few relatively brief periods in history. Money in the shape of small knives and arrows made out of bronze were used in China during the Zhou dynasty. This form of and over time for something less prickly shaped and in the form of a circle, which later became some of the first coins. The first minted coins were created in Lydia in 700 BC, which is now modern day Turkey, and by I mean coins that were already pre-weighed and marked to show how much they weighed. These coins were made which was a mixture of silver and gold that occurs naturally. These coins had a lot of advantage. Now people could actually wanted for what they needed and exchange coinage rather than goods and services. Upon. Coins were also easier to transport rather than transporting all your goods and services under the bartering system. Uniform coins also meant that merchants did not have to use scales to measure metal, which is a very time-consuming process. At a glance, clearly how much money was on the table. This type of currency impacts all around the world. Began adopting the coin form of currency in order to participate in foreign trade. There were, however, disadvantages to the coin system. For instance, coins' weight could change over time due to normal wear and tear. Also, there were criminals who would intentionally file down currencies, which was an offense punishable by death. And also, coins could be counterfeited, unlike in the bartering system. Lastly, coins were all carry around in large quantities. Also, it was dangerous to carry these large amounts of money. The Chinese invented paper money, or IOUs, around 700 AD. It became too cumbersome to carry around coins of different increments and weights. Eventually, the people of China allowed private institutions to store their gold and silver coins in exchange for certificates that correlated directly to what they personally had stored. These paper notes could then be easily exchanged back into electrum. The advantages to paper was it was very easy to transport light. Foreign trade became even easier now that you could give specific denominations of what you want to exchange. When Marco Polo visited China, he brought the idea of paper money back to Europe with him, where the Italian florin, which was a type of coin, was universally accepted. Unfortunately, these papers could also be easily counterfeited. While these notes were supposed to be a representation of the money being stored, these institutions frequently issued they had gold and silver, which ultimately hurt the public's confidence in these institutions. These private institutions also gave rise to the use of banks controlled by governments, such as the Federal Reserve, which acted similarly during the gold standard system, which will be talked about shortly. Paper money would not see popularity in the West until about the 1600s, when the bank institutions were right before World War I. Many countries began printing more paper money than they had gold. As a result, this caused a devaluing of their money. At one point, it got so bad in Germany that at one point people were burning wheelbarrows of paper money during the winter in order to stay warm. After World War I, many of the countries came back together to pick up the currencies. They all agreed that the gold standard, where their currencies would all be backed by gold. For example, would equal 1/2 ounce of gold. That's just an example. Again, this advantage was desirable because now it meant that people no longer had to carry their gold around with them. However, the problem was if there was a net transfer of currency from one country to another, then the gold would also have to follow. You can already imagine that that was not the case. Also, all countries had to be on the same page, not to print money just because. As in the case of all of the other monetary, eventually countries began to abandon the gold standard during the Second World War as they began to print a lot of money to fund their military projects. As they printed more money, the value of the gold to dollar ratio went down even more. After World War II, countries came together to determine a monetary trading system. They wanted something that would allow them to trade currency exchange rates fixed. Also, they wanted to keep all countries in this agreement from printing more money when they needed it. They all agreed that the gold standard was too rigid and they needed something that would allow them to keep a leash on the overprinting of money while still allowing flexibility. In 1944, 44 countries came together in the Bretton Woods, come up with a monetary system that to carry their gold around with them. However, the problem was if there was a net transfer of currency from one country to another, then the gold would also have to. You can already imagine that that was not the case and that did not happen. Also, all countries had to be on the same page and agree not to print money just because. As in the case of all of the other monetary systems, eventually countries began to abandon the gold standard during the Second World War as they began to print a lot of money to fund their projects. As they printed more money, the value of the gold to dollar ratio went down even more. After World War II, countries came together to determine a monetary trading system that would work. They wanted something that to trade and keep currency exchange rates fixed. Also, they wanted to keep all countries in this agreement when they needed it. They all agreed that the gold standard was too rigid and they needed something that would allow them to keep a leash on the overprinting of money while still allowing flexibility. In 1944, 44 countries came together in the Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to come up with a monetary system that would be advantageous to all countries that decided to participate in foreign trade. Because the U.S. held 2/3 of all the world's gold at that time, the U.S. dollar was then chosen to become the world reserve currency, which meant that each other country then pegged their money to the U.S. dollar, and the U.S. dollar would then be pegged to gold. Now, that we're not on that same system anymore. However, the U.S. dollar is still utilized as the currency. As a result, in the actual Forex market, you will notice that the US dollar has the highest amount of volume when it comes to trades because all countries tend to deal, well, not all countries, most countries tend to deal with the when it comes to trading. And now you know why. Two types of institutions, the IMF and the World Bank. The IMF's job was to lend money to countries who needed help in order to keep them from printing more money, which would cause the other countries' money to become more devalued. The World Bank's job was to lend money to the new developing countries that wanted to expand and build up their infrastructure. Efforts to keep them from just creating money. The Bretton Woods system severely constrained the U.S. economy as they were constantly lending out more U.S. dollars while their gold reserves were continuing to dwindle due to most countries requesting gold in exchange for their currency. In 1971, Richard Nixon announced that they would no longer honor the gold exchange and announced that he would be taking the U.S. dollar off of the gold standard. What a big shock to the world. Many countries' currencies are not backed by anything of value anymore. Instead, currency is determined by the floating exchange rate. Floating exchange rate regimes are not influenced by the government, but instead through the forces of supply and demand in the foreign exchange market, also called the Forex market or Because a currency's value in a exchange rate regime are determined by supply and demand, their value can change and change freely and are determined by the foreign exchange market. Some countries included in this managed floating exchange regime include the US, the Eurozone, and England. On the other hand, China does not participate in the rate regime. Currency is pegged to a basket of currencies.
Okay, so basically that is about the history of forex. Am I audible? Hello, can anyone hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. So that is briefly about the history of forex, and I believe we have taken keynotes of certain things that happened with the until the current system that we have. You know. So let's quickly move on. Exactly, forex is. There are four key terms, used to denote what forex was picked from, foreign exchange. Okay, so as we can see over here, we have forex was picked from there, and then it is also called FX. It's also called currency trading, and then in other words, it's also money. So in the field of forex, what is actually done is we are exchanging money for money. Okay. All right. So we move to the next slide. What is forex? As we have understood what forex is all about, being foreign exchange, exchanging one money. You know, back then we used to exchange goods for goods. Now we are exchanging money for money. Okay. So what is actually forex? So forex trading is the speculation on the price of one currency against another. So in the field of forex, that is what we do. We speculate, we predict that a particular price would move up or a particular currency would, you know, grow in value against the other. So for example, if you think that the price against the US dollar, you can buy the Euro USD currency pair low and then hopefully sell it at a higher price to make a profit. Of course, if you buy the euro against the dollar, which is the Euro USD, and the US dollar strengthens, you will then be losing a profit. So in this case, if you decide to buy, uh, okay, which is one of the pairs, the major pairs, the currency market, you realize that if the dollar is gaining value, that means that you are losing your money. But in the case where the dollar is losing its value, then automatically you are going to be making some profits in there. Or imagine exchanging $100 into our local currency in here in Ghana, you know, the CDs. If you are exchanging 100 USDs for CDs, and the CD value increases, exchanging back to USD, will net you more than $100. So, for example, let me just explain it briefly. If I am changing the 100 USD currently, I should be getting about 740. Current rate, as I last checked, was about 7.45. So if I am exchanging $100 uh, Ghanaian cedis, I should be getting about 745 cedis. But let's say maybe by Monday, okay, by Monday, value of the CD increase means that maybe let's say it would change instead of 7 cedis 45 pesos, it will now be changing to maybe 6 cedis. That means that if I am changing it back into dollars, I should be getting more than $100. I should be getting more than the initial $100 that I exchanged, to get the 745 cedis. I hope you're clear on that. Okay, the next slide. The forex market is now the Market is a decentralized global market where all the world's currencies trade. So every currency in this world has a place in the foreign. It is the most liquid with a volume of about 6.6 trillion. So on a daily basis, the kind of money that runs through the forex market is about 6.6 trillion, and not exchange market can compare to this forex market. If you look at the chart that is right here, in the stock exchange market, about 7.2 billion runs through, 7.2 billion US dollars runs through. The Tokyo Stock Exchange market, about 18.9 billion runs through there. And then the New York Stock Exchange market, about 22 billion US dollars. That's statistics. It runs through there on a daily basis. But looking at the forex market, you can see 6.0 dollars on a daily basis. That is actually remarkable. Not even all the forex, all the stock exchange markets can actually the standard of the forex market. That is what actually the liquidity of the market means. A lot of money runs through there every day. Okay, so we move to the next slide. Continuing what the forex market is. There's actually no central marketplace. There's no central office. Like in Ghana now, if you want to walk into any bank, there's a central place you walk, to, and say, okay, I want to do this transaction and that and that. We don't have. There is no, there is no office. The major people you deal with are the brokers. The brokers, especially for we the retail traders. Do individual trading are called retail traders. So the trading is actually conducted over the counter. So over the counter simply means that there is a middleman. Okay, and in this case now the middlemen are the brokers. All right. Not like the stocks where there's a central marketplace with all others processed, like the New York Stock Exchange market. When it comes to the New York Stock Exchange market, there's a central place, Wall Street. You walk in there, you go and then you move on. But when it comes to forex, there is no central marketplace. And forex is actually all the major banks, and not all banks will have the exact same price. So with that, every deals in forex, okay, because money runs through there on a daily basis with forex. So that's why when you walk into the see them have a screen there, and then you see what we call the quote price, and then or you see bid price and then the ask price. You see values changing from time to time on a particular screen there in the. Okay, so the next slide is that for example, is nothing but money, currency. Okay, so currency is what is actually traded in the forex market. Currency, money. All right. Now, for the various currencies traded in the forex market, we have different types of currencies that are being traded. Okay, we have ones that are mostly the ones that are less traded. All right. So these are actually some of the currencies that are being traded in the market. Okay, and actually major currencies, and then every currency actually has a nickname. Here, the nickname of our currency is a CD. Anybody mentions Ghana, you know that Ghana is spending cedis, all right, and then the lower denomination is in the same way. When you hear of US, what automatically comes into your head is the dollar, all right. So every country or the currency for every country actually has their nicknames. So we can see them here. Okay, to my right here, you can see the currency per euro USD. We have the euro and then dollar. Then when we the Japanese yen, so you can see it over here, dollar against the yen, USD JPY, the dollar against the yen. Then we have GBP USD, which is for Great British Pound, and then the US dollar against the dollar. The same applies to USD CHF, that is for Switzerland. CHF is for Switzerland, and the Nikki for Switzerland currency is the Swissy. Okay, is the Swissy. So that of Canada as well. They all spend. We have the Canadian dollar, and for Switzerland as well, we have the Switzerland dollar, but we call it the Swissy. And then for the Canadian dollar too, we call it the loonie. So it's over. It's called the dollar loonie. So in the market, you can, oh, I'm going long on the dollar loonie. Okay, which means the person is going to buy the USD CAD and AUD AUD USD, which is also the Aussie. So Aussie against the United States dollar. So we have Aussie against the dollar. Okay, then we have NZD USD, which is the New Zealand currency, New Zealand dollar against the United States dollar, which is Kiwi dollar. So all these currency pairs, okay, are divided, or every currency that is traded in divided into various groups. We have what we call the majors. We also have what we call the exotic currency pairs, and then we have what we call the crosses. Okay, so currently we are looking at the majors. Now, when we were listening to the video on the introduction, I believe you overheard that the dollar is actually one currency that most gotten to adopt. So when it comes to businesses, most people tend to the US. Okay, so now for the major currency pairs, if we take a look at what we have here, every major currency pair has the USD in there. Okay, every major currency pair. So once you uh, they are actually paired with the countries that are developed, their economies are developed. So when it comes to the major currency pairs, it's that are developed, they have very developed economies against the USD. Okay, so you can take a look here, or you can notice here we have the Euro USD, we have the GBP USD, we have USD JPY, we have USD CHF, we have USD CAD, we have AUD USD, and then we have NZ USD. Okay, so we have the USD in there. Now we move to the next type, which is the cross pairs. So now the cross pair simply has to do with the other development, but with USD. So if you take a look over here, you realize that if you take note of what is happening here, you realize that this is for the euro, this is for the JPY, this is for GBP, this is for CAD, AUD, and NZD. So the euro has actually been paired with all these other developing economies. The JPY has actually been paired with all developed economies, sorry. You realize that JPY has also been paired with all these developed economies. You realize that GBP paired in that same regard, CAD paired in that same regard, AUD paired in that same regard, and then NZD paired in that same regard. So they are called the crosses. They are called the crosses. Then in the next one, exotic pairs. So the exotic currency pairs are made up of a major currency, okay, paired with of an emerging economy, which means they are really not yet developed, okay, but they are now coming. They are now coming. So you can see them dollar paired dollar. You can see euro paired against the Turkish lira. You can see US dollar paired against the Norwegian krone. You can see US dollar against the South African USD paired against the Swedish krona. Then USD paired against the Danish krone, and then we have USD paired against the. We can even have a pair like USD GHS. That's for United the Ghana cedis. But then the thing is, when you go to the forex market, there are some currency pairs that people don't really trade. So if you go in there to trade that one, like it might really take a long time for you to be able to make the kind of profits that of you, and that's why usually that once you get into the market, you either major on the either learn more about the major currency pairs, or you can do the cross pairs, that are actually very common. And some of these pairs tradable because of the time frames. Okay, so when we get into when to forex, we'll have a brief look at some of those things. All right. Look at the major market participants, the people that are really into this game of forex. Which people are in here? First, we have the central banks. Then we have in there, various governments are also into this game of forex. We have people that are called the market makers. They are in there. They decide what actually happens. The market makers, they actually decide what happens in the market. So maybe when there is going to sell, okay, on a particular, these market makers are the ones deciding what should happen. If there should be a buy, on that particular currency pair. These market makers are the ones that are actually doing that. Then we have corporations. Corporations are big institutions, big companies, okay? They actually themselves in the field of forex. And then we have institutional traders. Institutional traders are people that trade for companies, okay? People that trade for companies. So various companies can actually fund traders to trade for them, and we actually have that in the field of forex trading. A lot of people are doing that. If you don't want to trade for yourself, you can trade for big companies and make a lot of profit from there as well. Then we have the brokers. So these brokers are actually the gap between the forex market and the people we call the retail traders. That is we, someone like me. I am a retail trader. I get into the market there, I trade for myself. Okay. Now, the retail trader is somebody who is working for himself, majorly because um, the initial capital is not that much. Okay, so you can get in there. So with the likes of $100, $200, $500, $1,000, 10,000, depending on your pocket, actually be the gap between you and then the forex market. So that is about the major market participants. Now let's come to the point. Why do we trade forex? Why trade forex? So you realize that before you are able to be successful with everything, you actually have to find reason for which you are supposed to do that thing, and that reason will actually to get the best out of that particular thing you want to do. So why trade forex? Now, before you venture into the world of trading, there are some things that you should know first. So every forex trader, and these are actually things. So every forex trader, I mean every single one of them, whether you are an expert trader, whether you are very knowledgeable in the field, there are some instances where you are going to have lost certain trades. So statistics have shown that almost 90% of retail traders end up with a loss in the long run. This is mostly due to the lack of discipline, clear plan for trading, money management, and many other factors. All right. Now, before you become the world of trading, the trading world, you must understand that it requires a lot of discipline and tight money management. So if you have these key things as your core, there is no way you're not going to make profit at the end of. So let's say maybe out of 100, if you are with these key things, taking a lot of time to study about the field as well as disciplining yourself in the field, definitely, and then having a tight money management so that you don't just throw your money anyhow. We'll get into that aspect where you have to know how you manage money or what actually determines your money management and all that. We'll get into that aspect. But if you have all these things, especially discipline, you know you would be best out of your journey in forex trading. So maybe out of 100, you can even make 90%. I mean, when your profitability is okay. Now, benefits of trading forex. Benefits of trading forex. So, uh, truth is, the forex market is actually financial markets in the world, the largest financial markets in the world. And as per the chart I showed us before, we can attest to the fact that a lot of money runs in there. So it's the largest market. Now anybody can participate. Anybody can participate. You are a newbie. You know, when I say a newbie, I mean you are actually new to the game. You don't know anything about it. You can get in there. You know, and then there is a high volume of liquidity. I believe I spoke about that earlier because of the how large the market is. A lot of money runs on a daily basis. Now nobody owns the market, so you can just walk in there and get out. You know, walk in there. If you make profits, you come out. If you make losses, you come out. You know, you can go in there, come out at any time you want. Then you can trade the high, simply meaning that charts and believe that okay, maybe within the next time frame, maybe in the 1 hour time frame, this in the upper direction, which means you should go for a buy. That is on a high level, so you trade that high. In the case where you realize that this chart is facing the downward trend, so I would want to go on a sell, then you can automatically, place your trades in the sell direction. If they go in your direction, boom, you make your money. If they go against your direction, automatically you are losing your money. Now, the forex market is actually open 24 5 so 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, which means the market never closes. So at any point in time, you can trade. At any point in time, you can trade. The only time that the forex market does not work is on weekends or on holidays. Okay, if there are general holidays, sometimes some markets open, then other aspects not open. But majorly, especially when it comes to the London and then the New York, they really do not work on weekends and then holidays. Then no commissions on most accounts. So most brokers do not charge commissions on accounts. You get it. You get in there, make your money with your capital, you come out. Okay. Then there are low transaction costs. So over here, you are able to actually trade with minimal. Some brokers even accept $10, $50, $100, $200, depending on afford. Okay, you can start with at least $10. You know, it's leverage. Now, what these third-party guys or brokers have done is that they actually give you some level of room, to be able to even beyond your account. Okay, you are able to trade even beyond your account. We'll get a bit into that in where we would actually explain, what leverage actually means. But just get the brief, understanding now that the leverage actually helps you to trade a bit more than your account. All right, then we have demo accounts. Every broker has a where they give you the opportunity to practice forex trading. Okay, they've actually given you the opportunity to practice forex trading with a risk-free demo account. So it's actually virtual funds. And majorly for most brokers, as well the brokers I've worked with over the time now, they give you about $10,000 in virtual cash to trade with. Okay, so you can continually practice until you get to the point where you will be able to trade with real money now. All right, let's talking about trading hours. So when exactly should you trade? The forex market is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, with the most important world trading centers being located in London, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, Paris, and Sydney. Majorly, you can see that I have taken these sessions: the London, New York, Tokyo, and Sydney. The most that all right, most are the world records. These are all these ones are minor ones. Zurich, Frankfurt, Hong Kong, Singapore, Paris. They are all minor ones. But apart from London is a huge forex market center. New York is big. Tokyo. And now for Sydney and Tokyo, uh, they are considered to be the Asian session. Okay, they are considered to be the Asian session. So the two of them as one, even though we are seeing it here that they have a little bit of difference, but they are majorly considered as the Asian session. So the London session actually runs from 7 a.m. in the morning until 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, this chart over here is based on our time frame, okay, GMT. All right. So 7 a.m. Ghanaian time, into 3 p.m. Ghanaian time. That is when the London market runs. Then the New York market, picks from 12 p.m. in the afternoon and runs into 8 p.m. in the evening. Okay, so according to the chart here, you can see it runs through 8 p.m. in the evening. So which means that it overlaps London time. So whilst London market is closing, the New York, market is still active until Asian market picks up from around 9 p.m. and goes back into. So this is why we say that the market never closes. The market never closes. It is 24. So if you miss the London market, you are going to get the New York market. If you miss the New York market, you can actually get into the Asian session, which is actually the Sydney and Tokyo session. Okay. Now, the Forex market is actually likened to a war. And in a war front, we know that we have those who are losing and are winning. All right. When we come to Forex as well, we also liken it to the likes of the bear. So you'll be hearing a lot of bulls, bears, when it comes to the field of Forex. All right. Now, two major trades. Okay, two major trades. This is actually what happens in the field of Forex. We are either buying or we are selling. Okay, you're either buying the money to wait, it to appreciate in value, then you sell. All right. So, or you sell the currency once you the trend is going in the opposite direction, then you can actually sell. So that is what we are either buying or selling. You buy the money or you sell it. All right, to make profits. All right. So we look at currency pairs. So majorly we have spoken about the currency pairs. Now we are going to look at what these currency pairs. So to my right, you can see over here that we have the euro and then we have the USD. So whenever you see a currency pair, the first currency is said to be the base currency, and the second currency is said to be the quote currency. All right. Now the exchange rate of two currencies is quoted in a pair, such as the Euro USD or the USD JPY. The reason for this is because in any foreign exchange transaction, you are simultaneously buying one currency and selling another. If the Euro USD and the dollar, you will then be a profitable trade. So over here right now, if assuming we say Euro USD and you have the Euro USD, that means the euro will appreciate in value more than the United States dollar. Or if you are selling the USD, that means you are believing that the USD will appreciate in value more than the euro. Okay, exchange rate. Now, the exchange rate is actually the value of one currency expressed. For example, with the euro USD, let's say if the euro USD is about 1.3200, then 1 euro is worth 1.3200. I don't know if we get the concept. So if you pick 1 unit, it is equal to 1.3200. Okay. All right. So let's also look at the bid and then the ask price, the bid and then the ask price. So majorly, when we get into the forex market, we are going to be seeing a lot of bid price, ask price, bid price, ask price. When you get to the charts and you want to trade, you are going to see what the bid price and then the ask price is. Now over here, you 1.3640. All right, you can see it over here, 407, and then you can see 1.36428. All right, this is actually the bid price and then the ask price. You can see them here, bid price, ask price. So when you see this on the chart, you should know that the difference between the two is what we actually call the spread. Okay, so in our major banks, that when you go there, they tell you that this is the exchange rate, or even if you walk into the forex bureau, they'll tell you that this is the price we are buying the dollar at, and this is the price we are selling it at. The difference between the two is the spread, and that's what is actually the profit for either the bank or the forex bureau or even our brokers. Okay, that help us to get into the market. So the bid price is the price at which the market or your broker will buy a specific currency pair from you. Okay, so if you walk into the bank, they will tell you this is how much we are buying the dollar. As I said earlier on, a few days ago, I made a transaction, on $100. When I was, receiving the money into my account, the bank changed the money as 7.45. That is 7.45 Ghanaian cedi. But then when I was sending to another person, they actually gave it to me at 8.08. All right. So the difference between and then 7.5 is actually what we call the spread. Okay, and that's the profit they are also going to make. Now let's look at the ask price. The market or your broker will sell a specific currency pair to you. Thus, at the ask price, you can buy the base currency from your broker. So this is majorly the difference between what the bid and ask prices are. Now let's look at what we call a pip. Let's look at what we call a pip. So a pip, smallest increment of price movement in a currency. Sorry, the smallest increment of price movement. Okay, so also called points.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I know this is still have like 20 more slides to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think and you have less than 4 more minutes. So I think what you're going to do is
Wow.
that because the session is almost 3 hours, so
Okay.
supposed to be two. So what I think we can do
Okay.
is we can have a different section. So we can set up a complete different section just for the forex trading, so that you do a more detailed presentation of what you are doing. So you can wrap up, and then we'll discuss on your availability, and then I'll create a new event for you, especially for the forex
Okay.
aspect. I know this is very detailed and then
Yeah.
very educative.
Sure.
So we can wrap up here, and then you have a completely different add-on, so that it becomes a different recording altogether.
Okay, sir.
Because if it's too long, people might not be able to watch the whole video.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me
So you
just
can.
wrap up with what
Yeah.
we we call it a day.
This is very, very detailed, and then
Okay, so
people might not stay watch it all the way to the end.
sure, sure.
So you can just wrap up then. We'll discuss, and then when you're available, I'll create another event for you, and then
No
I'll
problem.
moderate it for you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
All right. Thank you so
All right.
much.
So okay, thank you very much.
You can actually wrap up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
can continue. You can just go ahead and wrap up.
Okay.
You have like 2 more minutes, I think.
Okay. All right. So can you please see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So talking about the PIP, increments of price movement make, okay, is what a PIP. So for example, one PIP for the Euro USD 0.0001. Now, when we talk about the currency pairs, okay, apart from USD JPY or Japanese yen, the Japanese yen actually runs with a 2 decimal place, whereas every other runs with a 4 decimal place. Okay, so you can see over here 0001, okay, as one pip for the Euro USD, and then we are one as one pip for the USD JPY. So this is the slightest price, in, and this, truth be told, can make a lot of difference. Just this can make you lose a trade or run into negatives, okay? And then there's an upward movement of this can also make you, if it is going to either make profit or loss just with a one pip movement, okay? Majorly, I think I would have to end time is up, and then maybe in the actually get in depth into. Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity once again, and I look forward to more bigger times. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much for this very educated session. If we had known that this will be very detailed, we would have dedicated a whole day for it, a whole session, like a whole day session for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up another meeting um, as a follow-up meeting on this particular one, just for the Forex aspect, which can make more detailed for a whole 2 hour session, and they'll make it available for people to watch. All right, so thank you so much for joining us for this 3 days. It has been very impactful and very educative. So much was learned from the first day to the last day, starting with productivity tools for nonprofits, the setting up personal business portfolio, the forex trading introduction, the business development and business growth, and also the banking investments investment session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. The final recording will be made available probably by Sunday or Monday after we wrap up the event. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, if anyone has a question, a comment, person can just go ahead and then make that. And then opportunity to thank our president for this opportunity to host such a wonderful event, seminar, and also to our amazing speakers for dedicating their time and energy and intellect for us. The detailed research they do, the preparation they make towards this event, we really, really appreciate it. And are really, really grateful. Thank you so much. And if anyone has a question, we can just take those and then we wrap up. And thank you all those who joined our live session, our TechSoup community leader, Eli, um, Stasiri, Brother Simon, Brother Wanda for the wonderful forex trading presentation, Brother Francis for the amazing saving banking investment session, and then Brother Bright for staying with us throughout the sessions. God really to bless you and have a wonderful evening. All right.
All right, thank you very much. Same to you, sir.